What's going on, everybody? This is, I believe, Darren, correct me if I'm wrong, off topic episode number 49. Is that correct?
I believe so. Yes.
So, 49 of these, it's been just about 3 years that we've been doing it pretty much twice a month, but we started for a while at once a month. I guess it's more like 2.5 years, but Um, yeah, so we've talked about a couple of ideas for episode 50, which will likely air on your channel. It'll be your turn in the rotation. So first off, what's new, dude? What's going on?
Not much. Not much. Just waiting for the national. I did have a pickup the other day. I haven't recorded the video yet for it. I'll probably do that tomorrow and drop that next week. It's got maybe a pre-national pickup. It's dip my toe back into buying stuff because I haven't bought anything for a while.
You dipped more than a toe. I've seen the card. It's more than a toe. It's like down to the knee.
A couple toes.
Yeah, I'm excited for that episode. You go sporadic. You won't do one for a month, and then you'll do 3 in 2 weeks, and so I'm looking forward to the episode. Also because I'd like to get another look at it. But yeah, April is always fun, and July is always fun because we get to hang out in April and
Yes.
July at Strongsville and the National. So there's a few ideas I have on what we could talk about today. But I want to start because yesterday, we're recording this on Wednesday afternoon. And yesterday I had a live stream and you hopped on for a minute and you said something that caught my attention. And you've said it to me once before as well, but you said it on air yesterday. And it was that you've had some regrets about some things that you've sold. So you said, yeah, I kind of regret some of the stuff I've been selling. I don't want to put words in your mouth, but what I remember you saying is something along the lines of, yes, I've been selling a lot lately. In fact, some of the things that I've sold, I regret selling. So take us through, what do you regret selling, and what are the words of wisdom that you've learned from the experience of doing some selling and maybe regretting some of it?
I would say I guess what caused me to sell stuff that I regret. I think my first auction that I did, I sold stuff that I just really didn't, I really wasn't into anymore. Then the next auction, and it did well, right? So then the next auction, I'm like, oh, I'll sell some stuff. And I sold some stuff that I was like, it's stuff that I don't dislike it. I just don't really like look at it that much. And then the third auction, I sold some stuff that I do like, but was, getting into the whole selling thing, and things were moving, in a positive direction with what things were selling for. So I did that one, and that one did really well. So then I wanted to do another one. And on that one, I had already basically kind of sold the stuff that I was wanting to sell. And then I'm like, well, I want to do one more. So I started picking things that were maybe not quite as stuff that I think I've said a few times. I'll sell the stuff I like. I'll keep the stuff I love. There's a gray area there, and I dipped into the gray, right? So,
well, what are some of the things that were in the gray area?
So the one that I mean, my Koufax rookie, I don't necessarily miss it. I would say that one I'm probably okay selling. My Honus Wagner,
Philadelphia Caramel.
Yeah, the American Caramel. Was it the American
Caramel? American Caramel.
Yeah. That one I sort of miss. I miss having the card. I bought that one kind of hastily, and I wasn't super thrilled with the condition on it. So I think that's one that I might actually repick back up, just in a better eye appeal. But the one that I regret actually selling is my 89 Upper Deck Griffey in the 10, because it was in this case, and I will catch myself turning around to look at it and it's not there anymore. And that one, I think I regret selling. And I guess my takeaway from this is, now that I realize that I've moved cards that I am not super, like, I'm kind of questioning whether I should have, and then I definitely regret selling the Griffey. I'm probably good selling. I think I've leaned out the collection as much as I'm comfortable leaning it out. And then, I'm sure at some point I'll probably sell stuff. There's some stuff that I have that I really like that I might want to get in better eye appeal potentially at some point. But for now, I think I'm good on I'm good on the selling piece. Now I just need to figure out what I'm going to buy with my proceeds.
Okay, you just brought up a third follow-up kind of question / category. I got my daughter calling me right now. Lucy, will you call your sister and see if everything's okay? Sorry, everybody. I'm not going to cut that out. That's just my life.
That's priority. That's priority.
Yeah. So 3 things pop up from that. Number 1, when I first met you, you were acquiring lots of iconic cards. And I know that part of the reason you were acquiring a lot of these iconic cards is because you were doing your countdown, and a lot of the countdown, you wanted to have a card with all those players. And so you wanted a cool card of Hank Greenberg. So you bought his iconic 34 Gaudy card, so you were doing a lot of iconic cards. And when I looked over the last few months, as you've been selling stuff, which you've been selling on CIA, and when you've been selling stuff, a lot of what you've been selling have been iconic cards. And meanwhile, you've been buying stuff and picking stuff up over the last year. And what you seem to have been picking up have been more rarer cards, like rarer Ty Cobb cards and rarer DiMaggio cards, and just whoever the player is, it's more of the off the beaten trail, low pop kind of thing. Would you say that your collection is moving that direction away from iconic and towards more of a player collector and going a little bit deeper with those? Or like, why have you, like, because when I think of like the most important cards from the 1950s, if I were to list 7 or 8 of them, maybe up to 10 of them, the Koufax is definitely in that list. So if you're selling a Sandy Koufax, what's the direction you're going? And I guess that could lead into, so what are you buying? Like you said at the very end.
So, I mean, from my 50s cards, I'm trying to think the big ones that I've sold. I sold my Bob Gibson rookie. I sold my Killebrew rookie. I sold the Koufax rookie.
Kaylin, I think.
I'm trying to think. I mean, iconic 50s cards that I have left are my Mantle rookie, my Mays rookie, Bowman's, and then my Aaron rookie. I think that's, I mean, I take that back. I have, I sold my 53 Jackie Robinson. I don't know if I regret that or not. I need to think about that. I might actually regret that. I don't know. Yeah. So I'm trying to think. Yeah, I kept my 53 Mantle. So, I mean, I've got four sweet, 52 Topps Jackie, kept that. So I've got 5 pretty iconic 50s cards still.
But so would you say it's an accurate statement to say that you're moving away from 50s iconic cards and you're moving more towards rarer pre-war cards? Because you've even sold some of your pre-war stuff, like you sold your Nap Lajoie portrait, for example. So you've sold some pre-war stuff. So it's not like you're just selling 50s stuff. You're also selling some pre-war stuff. So what's the direction you were in 2 years ago, and what's the direction you're trying to go now?
Sure. So 2 years ago, what you said before was very accurate. I was doing my top 100 countdown, and I wanted to have an iconic card, preferably a rookie card from every player on the list. So I picked up a bunch of cards from that, and then I also picked up other just general iconic cards from the period. And then I picked up cards, as you know, right, at Strongsville, where I have my goal cards right on my list. goal, my list cards is Strongsville, and then I try to pick those up. And then sometimes I have money left over, and why would I want to just bring that home? I might as well spend it. So then I'll pick up some other stuff that's typically pre-war. I think every time I've done that, it's been something pre-war. And I liked all that stuff, but some of the stuff I picked up at Strongsville that was pre-war just because I had extra budget. I mean, I wasn't really overly attached to it, so sold that. Some of the stuff I picked up pre-war to do my countdown, I liked, but I was okay moving some of it, right? Like the Lajoie portrait was an interesting one, I think, because I think any other T206 that I sold was the non-portrait of the player. Like I kept the Mathewson portrait, I kept the Walter Johnson portrait, I kept the Cy Young portrait. Obviously, I kept all my Cobbs. But yeah, the Lajoie portrait, that was an interesting one. It was really good looking. It was a 2.5, but it looked really good. Yeah, I know that this might be questionable thing to say, but it's stickered silver. So, but yeah. So I mean, I don't know. I think yes, what you're saying is accurate, but at the same time, I don't think there's actually a strategy. There is no method to my madness right now. I think I'm going on gut feel. Yeah. If I'm looking at the card and I'm like, I like it, but I don't necessarily need to keep it. And there's other stuff I might want that is pricier, and I'm going to need to kind of build up the war chest a little bit. I'll move it. I think at this point, though, like I said, I think I'm done doing the selling, at least for a while. And then the stuff I'm going to pick up. Yeah, I don't actually have like a true list of stuff. I just want to go see what I find. I do like rare stuff, right? I do like pre-war rare stuff. I am getting more into the 1800s cards as well. So just for me at this national, I'm going to go in with my biggest budget I've ever had, see what I find, see if I like anything. I mean, the other problem too is a lot of the real rare stuff, the prices are so absurd right now that I'd have to be able to get at least a reasonable deal on it. So that being said, I might leave the national and not really pick much up, but Heritage and REA have big auctions like right after the national, so maybe I'll bid on stuff in that instead.
Yeah, and you can see those cards in person at the national. They're usually on display. It's one of the things I try to cover in at least one of my videos is some of the cards, the bigger cards on the big golden REA heritage lists and things that they have out there.
So, but I mean, the iconic stuff is iconic and rare stuff is just, it's going a little crazy, right? Like I saw a 33 Gaudy Lajoie and a 1 sold, what was it, like a Heritage or REA or something, like the end of last month for like 47,000, and that card is up on eBay right now for 77,000.
Yeah.
Right. So I think a lot of dealers are trying to maximize. They're trying to set price, right? Like, there was a 1914 Cracker Jack Christy Mathewson that sold for like 40 something thousand earlier this year. That's I saw up at auction for like 80, maybe sold for 50, but yeah, it was up like 40,000 from what it sold for. So that's kind of my big, that's my issue with picking stuff up at the show, is a lot of dealers have picked up some really great stuff at auction. And historically it's like, oh, you bought this at auction, I could see what you paid for it, and I can negotiate with them, and they'll make 10% on like a flip on a card they've had for a couple months, and a lot of times they're okay with it. Now they want like 70% or more, and I personally am not willing to do that. I'd rather wait for the market to soften at some point and then go in and way undercut it, and then
so let's go down that road. I wasn't planning on this part of the conversation, but I think it's certainly
off topic.
Off topic, exactly. So, in your opinion, you just said iconic cards are going a little bit nuts right now, and I mean, look across the board, and a lot of those cards have gone just absolutely bonkers. What is your opinion? I mean, you kind of talked a little bit about a couple of ideas there in that what you just said, but what is, in your opinion, the reason that it's going up? And then you just said a second ago that, when the market corrects, then I'll go in and undercut it. So whatever it is that's driving the prices up, it sounds like you also think that a correction's coming, because some of the hypotheses that people have as to why things are going up wouldn't necessarily mean there's going to be a massive correction. So why in your opinion is there a sudden rise in value of the iconic cards, and and that will lead to a correction at some point?
My answer to the first part of that is very petty-esque.
Okay.
I think I think the driver of why the big rise is greed.
Greed from who?
Sellers, dealers, sellers, right? I think that the demand is up, so they're basically trying to push the absolute limits all the time. And I mean, I'm not sure where it's coming from because the hobby's been growing for a while, but new money is coming in somewhere, right? New money's coming into the hobby and it's picking up more of this stuff, right? And I think if even the new money that came in, like at COVID, most of those guys have to have learned now that, buying a card for double what, the last comp was a month before, that's up 200% from last year before that. um you know there's risk to it. I think a lot of sellers, dealers, they're not I think they're at the point now where it's like things have been going so well for so long, it's like, hey, it's going up, it's not going to go down. Why would it go down? It's just going to keep going up, right? And I don't know. I think, my from an investment perspective, right, I think that never is the case, right? There's never been a time where just everything went up and never came down, right? I mean, it may not correct back to prices from 3-4 years ago, but at some point it'll peak out, and it'll at least a temporary peak, and it'll reset, and then let's say it drops 15%. Okay, cool, and then it might go up again, right? Just like the stock market is still, stock market's still going up. Well, right now it's not, but it goes through little corrections. I think that the card market has to go through a correction. If it goes up at the same rate it's going up now, the only people that are going to be collecting baseball cards in like 2 years will be millionaires.
Okay. Now, but if it's greed, I don't disagree that there's greed and there's bigger margins and all that kind of stuff. But like my gas station could put $50 a gallon on the price of gas. I wouldn't buy it. They could charge $25 for a loaf of bread. I wouldn't buy it. So I agree that greed and getting bigger margins and all of that feeding frenzy, it's certainly part of it. But at some point, if the price gets insane, then wouldn't people stop buying?
Yeah, and we saw that. I mean, we've seen that in the last 5 years, right? Like, remember the Jordan Fleer rookie? That thing back in what, 2021 ish, late 2021, I think, around then, right? Like somebody paid like 750,000 for it in the 10, and it's never been close to that again, right? Like I think certain cards. I mean, there are some cards that like a Honus Wagner T206, right? I don't think it's ever sold ever, no matter what the market's doing, for less than the last time it sold, right? It's in the last 40 years, every T206 Wagner that's sold has sold for more than that card had sold for previously. But I think outside of that and some like hyper iconic stuff, right? Like the, PMG Jordans and things like that. Outside of stuff like that, there's a lot of stuff that's been selling that to me is just like, wow, that card I look at some cards, I'm like, that card was $4,000 5 years ago. Now it's like $80,000. And I think one of the things that's happening is, as the hyper iconic stuff gets really expensive, then the next tier of iconic starts to drive up. Then that gets really expensive. So then the next tier starts to drive up. And you're going to get to a point soon where people are paying for like uninteresting stuff quite a bit, just because it's the only thing that's left in their price range, right? So
The 52
and at that
tops,
point, I think prices should flatten out a little bit. Like, again, I'm not saying that there's going to be like a crash or any of that kind of shit. I'm just saying that in the history of the world, there's never been an investment that just kept going, got to a point where it's like, hey, it's just going to keep going. Like, it has to correct a little bit at some point. It could continue on like a positive trajectory, but it's unlikely that it'll continue a positive trajectory without like somewhat significant dips along the way.
The 52 tops mantle has gotten so expensive that over the last couple of years, the 53 tops mantle has gone really, it's like doubled in like the last 2 years. And I think that's a good example. I'm going to show you something that I noticed as an issue, not an issue. I don't know if it's an anomaly or what it is. So I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
And we're looking in card ladder here. Again, I had no plans on this, but what you're talking about is now something that I want to kind of dig into a little bit. So what I have on the screen are 1999 Skybox Molten Metal Fusion Berry Bonds. It's a set I really like the looks of. I could go ahead and click on a card right here and get a better look at it. It's got bonds on there. It's a cool looking card. In the background, those are like actually little cuts. It's like a die cut in there that makes out his portrait. The reason I never bought the bonds is there were two things about this card that drove me crazy. One, when they airbrushed it on, it kind of cuts off his foot down here. And then number two, when I think of Barry Bonds, I don't think of him like underhanding a ball to the edge of a card. Like he's facing away. Like I feel like this should be flipped. Like he should be on the left facing the center instead of on the right facing the edge. And I'm describing the card a little bit that I have on the screen. And then the portrait should be looking the other way. So I feel like he should be looking toward the center, not looking towards off the card. It drives me crazy, but I like the set a lot. And Barry Bonds is a guy that I've purchased some cards of. So
in 1999, was he DH? Was he a DH yet? Or
no, they didn't even have DH in the NL at that point.
But when I think of Bonds, like iconic Bonds, I think of him with a bat in his hand, not so much, underhanding it, especially. That's kind of wimpy.
So a year ago, in June and July, this card in a PSA 9, it sold in June 25th, 2025 for $238. And then it sold a month later in July for $312. And then it sold October 20th, 2025 for $312. Okay, so this is a card that literally as recently as October was $312. Now I'm going to scroll up and show some of the more recent prices. In February of this year, the card sold for $468. In March 30th, 2026, March 30th, 2026, it sold for $426. But then it sold in an auction, a Fanatics auction, May 10th. So 40 days later, it sold for $2,370. And I went, I'm missing something here. Something is, I'm not, there's some variation or something that I'm not understanding. And then this other one came up and it just ended at auction a few days ago on July 11th for $1,550. So this is a card that went, in 1 year ago, 312, October, 312, February, 468, March 30th, 426. It went straight to 2,370 and 1,550. I thought this one was an anomaly until the 1,550 popped up. What in the heck do you make of something like that? Like, seriously, What
So
could have happened there?
So I don't know. I think a couple things in my mind. What comes to mind when I see this is potentially, the titanium. So the gold one that's down there, that's a
Mhm,
super iconic card, and those are getting to be very expensive. And
mhm.
people are like, well, I really like that one, but that's kind of out of my price range. So I mean, if you look at it from 6 years ago, that wasn't even $1,000. It's getting out of it's getting out of my price range. So maybe I'll go with the non-titanium one, right? Um, and that could, again, it's kind of, I think that's an example of kind of what I was saying before of people wanted that one. That one's getting so expensive. Now they're putting their money into this other one, and it's just driving up. Or potentially somebody who's an investor who's like, look, I don't know, like I'll make a list of cards I want for an investment, and they say, hey, to their buyer, buy me these cards, and they said, okay, and he's like, win me the card at any cost, and they bought the wrong version and paid a lot, and then somebody said, oh crap, that's how much it's going for. I'm going to get a great deal on it and only pay $15.50 for it, right? So you never know from that perspective, right? Like people could, I mean, especially with the modern stuff, if you're brand new to it and you're just like, hey, all I know is that this shit's going up a lot, so I'm going to start buying. It's easy to like misunderstand some of these cards, right? Because there's like, slight nuances to the versions that drive value. So that, I mean, that could have been it too. And again, once it sells for a lot, maybe 2,600 or whatever is too much, but somebody saw that and said, okay, 1,550 is worth it.
Yeah, and then so there's also a sterling which is out of 500. So the gold one's out of 50, the sterling's out of 500, and then the silver are more common and unnumbered. So let's just take Griffey, which I pulled up on the screen here now. So 1 year ago, the Griffey, the silver one was 396, and then it went 550, 475, 625, 648, 665. In February of this year, it was 700. Then it went to 800. In March, it went to March 18th, it went to 1,100. March 29th, 1,450. April 1,300. April 28th, 1,750. It went all the way up to 1,826. The one that just sold at the end of June was 3,200. So just to review, hold on, hold on one sec. This card, which is an unnumbered card, it's a cool card. It's a pull, It it's it just sold for 2,800 and 3,200 in June of 2026. And the same card in June of 2025, well, July of 2025 was $465 and $396. So it's like 8 or 9x, not 10x, 8 or 9x in one calendar year.
Mhm.
That's, imagine if you had bought, a 52 tops uh, Jackie Robinson for $10,000 a year ago at the National, and today you looked and it was worth $90,000. That would be
Yeah,
insane, right?
that would be.
But this is what's happening, and there's a lot of this card. I mean, we could look at the pop. I mean, there's 54 of them. There's 54 of them, and there are three tens. So there are three that are graded above it. So there are 57 of them at equal or better condition according to PSA, and that's not even including Beckett. And the card has 9x in a year, 8 to 9x. And this isn't an iconic card. This isn't a Sandy Koufax. This isn't a Sandy Koufax rookie card. This is Ken Griffey Jr. insert card from 1999 Skybox Metal.
Yeah.
I mean,
And I think that card, I think all of those skybox ones that you were showing, I think all of those have a higher demand with them because of the fact that they have the titanium versions that are like becoming, or I guess not becoming, that have been quite iconic. And then I don't even know that's modern anymore. Is 1999 modern?
I think a lot of people would call it modern, wouldn't
Well,
they?
old guys like us would, but like young guys that collect, they're like 1999. I wasn't even born yet, right?
Right. I mean, I don't know exactly what's going on with that. It's definitely something that has caught my attention as I've paid a
Yeah.
little bit of attention to some stuff. And I think to a certain extent, you're probably right. In that the more expensive card has pulled it up some, but like, look, okay, so let's just say, for example, let's go back to the card. A year ago in May, the silver was 335 and the blue, the sterling, was 1450 and then 1860. So I mean, along the same lines, does that mean that this is a $13,000 card? Like, is
It,
that a
it,
$13,000 card now?
it might be. It might
But
be,
that's
right? Like,
insane.
and that's and with the newer stuff like this, the price swings are going to be more extreme than with the vintage stuff. But yeah, possibly. There's one for
I
26 bucks.
can't believe that a card that there's over 50 of in that grade, not just 50 of them, 50 in that grade. The total pop is 112 of the Griffey, and there's 53 in that grade. That I mean, that's just I know that, and see what a lot of people are gonna say is, oh, that's why you don't buy modern because it's unstable, and maybe,
But
but there are some people that like modern cards. Some people want
yeah,
that card.
and if you're, and if you're an investor or a dealer, you're going to look at you're going to look at direction. It's like, hey, this card is hot. It keeps selling for more and more. If I can get it for about what the last one sold for, I should be able to sell it for more, right? We've seen that. I think we see that a lot, even with vintage stuff, right? Where, you see a card sell and then immediately see it come up for sale again for significantly more money. And you see it and you're like, oh, that's stupid. Who would pay that? The guy just bought it the other day for this, and he's flipping it before he even got the card from the auction house. And then like the next day it's sold. And you're like, oh, I guess there are people that would buy it for that much. Right. So, I think that all this stuff, I mean, at least that one there, that's expensive. Looks like he got autographed by him.
But like, I just pulled it up. I just changed the grade to an 8. I was looking at 9s before because I know those are very condition sensitive, even though there's 55 of them or 53 or whatever it was. So I pulled up an 8 and I'm like, what's an 8 go for? Well, an 8 right now goes for 600, and that one sold in May. So if that sold in May for 600, the 9 in May sold for 2,200. So is that really almost 4x because PSA assigned it a 9 instead of an 8? Like, is the
Yeah.
multiplier between an 8 and a 9 4?
Yeah. With the newer stuff, I think that the grade has a lot more to do with it because it's tougher with the new stuff to be like, what's the eye appeal of it? The new stuff, it's like, hey, a 7, 8, 9, and 10 could look exactly the same. We're on vintage stuff, 7, 8, 9, and 10 rarely looks almost identical. I mean, it could, but it rarely does. I mean, there obviously are some examples of people picking up cards in very low grades that look, exceptional, and that's awesome. But
But
with modern stuff, it's tougher.
shouldn't that make the difference between an 8 and a 9 less if an 8 and a 9 look exactly the same?
Logically, yes, but I think that I think that I don't know. It looks. I mean, I think it's the way it's been for a while, right? Where, you know, again, like my Griffey that I sold, right? It was a 10. Same card in the 9 is about a tenth of what the 10 sold for, right? And the
Mhm.
9 will look basically exactly the same. I mean, there's some of those had a flaw on that. On the back, there's that like reflective sticker on those. some of them had a flaw in that sticker that like you have to really look at under a loop to see it. And the ones that had that flaw get like 4s, right? So the card could literally look like a 10 with a flaw on the sticker that you don't even notice unless you look at it under a loop, but it gets a 4 because of that, right? So, in that scenario, why not buy the 4 because it looks perfect? I think with the modern stuff, if you're collecting modern stuff as an investment, then obviously you're going to want the higher grade. If are collecting the modern stuff because you just want to have the card in your collection, then yeah, I think it's, you could take a vintage approach and say, hey, how does it look for the eye appeal, right? You might find a 5 where you're like, oh, that's almost perfect, but like the die cut was a little fuzzy. I don't care. That's good enough for me. Like the card itself looks perfect. It's centered, etc. Right? So sharp and centered. So,
As a vintage collector like yourself, would you say that the number grade means more than it did to you 5 years ago, less than it did 5 years ago, or the same?
I think it's less. I think when I first, when I first got back into collecting, what, 6, 7 years ago now? 7 years ago? 8? How old am I? Oh, geez. Yeah, 8 years ago. The number grade to me was important because I have some of the cards I bought back then. I'll look at now and say, wow, how'd that get a 7? Right? That's probably like a 5 or 4. But now it's less important to me because I'm all about, I'm all about what it looks like, and I'm less concerned about the grade, right? Like the card I'm going to show in the video I'm going to make probably tomorrow, so I'll post it maybe this week, maybe early next week. That card has a lower number grade, but it looks like it should have maybe double the grade that it has, right? But it looks really, really good. So that's what I care about. I don't care what the number says.
So would you say that it's fair? Is it fair to say that that grades are more important for those getting into the hobby and getting back into the hobby, and the more kind of well versed you get, the grades slowly mean less and less and less? Or is it just that for maybe you or some other people, that when they got back into it, the grade meant more and now it means less and less? Is it sort of a crutch for a lot of new collectors?
It might be, but I know people that are fairly new that are all about the eye appeal and not concerned with the grade. But other people that have been in the hobby for a long time that are, do care about the grade, right? So I think it's less of, I think they could shift, like you said, right? Like if you're newer into the hobby, you might lean more on that. But I think really it comes down to how people collect, and everybody collects differently. And some people collect based on the grade, and other people collect based on the eye appeal. And I think that people that collect with a potential eye towards selling it later for more money, not saying that they're investing per se, right? They're collecting, but they're like, hey, I like this card a lot, but I want to buy an example that I could sell in 10, 15 years for more or considerably more than I'm paying for it. You might lean towards not just the grade, but one that at least is good eye appeal for the higher grade, right? So it just
Do
really
you
depends
think
on how people collect.
do you think 15 years from now, the grade will be, as a whole, will be for the community as a whole, will be the same value as it stands for the community as a whole right now? Or do you think that the grade will start meaning more? Do you think the grade will start meaning less? Not for you, but for just, the average collector going to the national.
That's a good question. I think it depends. If 15 years from now, grading is still the same process that they have now, where somebody looks at a card and they give it a grade, and PSA caveats that saying, and I say PSA because basically by then they'll own all the grading companies in 15 years. So, they'll say, hey, just a caveat, to one grader, it could look like an 8, and to another, it could look like a 9, but to another, it could look like a 7, right? So it got a 7, but that's okay because that's just what that grader thought. If that's still the approach they have, right, where it's like very, very fluid, I think it'll mean less. I think that if grading companies start to, say a new one pops in and they do a really good job with like AI and are able to grade it very, very consistently because they take the personal feel out of it and the computer does it. And in some cases, whatever, people thought, oh, well, computer can, okay, fine. Computer does it, and then somebody verifies it with their eye or whatever. But let's say the process becomes more automated, so it becomes more consistent. If that happens, I think grading will be just as important, because it will be, because it's more consistent. I think it'll matter at least as much as it does now. I think if it keeps going down the path it's on now, then it'll probably matter less.
I've got 3 quick hitters for you before we wrap up. Okay. And I want your just immediate response without overthinking them. First question: Will PSA be the universally accepted #1 grading company 10 years from today?
Yes.
In 2 years from today, will I be able to mail a card to SGC and be able to get it encapsulated with an SGC slab and label in 2 years from now?
Yes, based on what I've been seeing recently.
If you bought what you consider a really nice vintage card, let's say it's an $800 vintage card at the National and it's ungraded, where would you send it when you got home? You decided you're going to mail it to send it to get graded. Where would you send it to get it graded?
SGC.
So I don't know how many people out there just got triggered by one of those answers, or all 3, or the questions themselves. But
if you got triggered by it, I'll be at the National. Come, we'll talk, we'll chat. No problem. I'm curious what other people think. Feel free to try to convince me otherwise. That's fine. I mean, that's, again, you said what's up right off the top of my head. I didn't have time to think through it, but based on what I do, like those are my answers. But yeah, if it triggered anybody, then come talk to me. I'd love to have that discussion with you.
And I will wrap this up by saying keyword down below in the comments. The keyword to the code word is trigger.
Trigger.
Does that sound good? Is that a good one? All right. Any last thoughts for episode number 49 for everybody out there?
Yeah, I mean, this has been awesome that we've been doing this for so long. I think that I really enjoy, obviously, having this much time to chat with you. I mean, we text all the time and we talk on the phone, but we rarely get like almost an hour to just have a discussion about stuff. So I love doing it, and I'm hoping that we'll do the 50th episode here soon, and then in a couple of years we'll do our 100th.
I would love that. Nothing would make me happier, because I look forward to it. I would think at least as much as you do, because this is a highlight of my month each month. So, all right, code word trigger. Let us know your thoughts down below. If you have other examples of cards that have gone like nuclear in the last 6 months, like the Skybox Molten Metal Fusion cards that I showed of Griffey and Bonds, let us know. I would love to see more examples of things that have been doing that.
Yeah, I have one that I've noticed, at least if VCP and Card Ladder are showing correct auctions, a 68 Nolan Ryan and a SGC 9.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, that's good from a boy, right?
Yeah, it was my number 2 card last year. It's far and away my number 1 card right now.
Oh boy. Well, I'm going to look it up as soon as I hit end here. I'm going to actually start looking right now. All right. Thanks for listening, everybody. And Yeah, we'll see y'all at the National. Come say hey.
Yep.
Ask me where Darren is. I'd love that.
Or ask me where Greg is. I'd love that.